I just got finished seeing the premiere of the season 2 of The Walking Dead on AMC. Uh, Now, I did not catch all of the first season. I kind of was busy at that time, but I have caught most of the episodes since then, both through Hulu and through reruns on AMC, so I'm pretty much up to date. And hopefully I'll be keeping on top of this season. Um, as for the premiere itself, it's pretty good. I don't get a real sense of exactly what season 2 is going to be all about. Then again, I don't think The Walking Dead is one of those shows where they kind of each season has a theme or a central plot that's got to get resolved. This is very much a series that is very serialized. Every single episode uh, goes right into it goes kind of right into the other, and it kind of resolves their part. Maybe some things will take longer. It seems to be the Fort Benning thing will be the ultimate goal, but then again, we could have that by halfway through the season. I have not read really the comics. I've read one or two of the comics, and I think they were from later in the series than this as well, so it doesn't help me out too much with that. They're gonna well, actually, it looks like they're going to be doing this, but they certainly now have to kind of refresh the group with new bodies. Let's face it, last season's ending, actually the last couple of episodes of last season really cut down the group. Where you had I forget the family name, but there was that one family that just chose not to go with them. That took out how many people? You had Andrea's sister die. You had what's her name? The one girl that stayed behind at the CDC. You lost. There's a good 4 or 5 main characters right there that are no longer in the show. You certainly need a higher replacement rate, and it looks like that there does seem to be a new group that they're going to come across. Maybe that's from the comic. I know they are purposely diverging at certain points from the comic. So if you're kind of going, fool, why don't you know this? It's because I'm purposely avoiding the comic at this point, just because I don't want stuff spoiled for me. Kind of interesting that they're talking about Shane leaving the group. I mean, that does seem to be, at the moment, the theme, I guess, of this part of the story is them being split into smaller and smaller groups and kind of diverging, kind of doing the opposite of what they did last season. Last season they kind of started spread out, with Rick and everyone all over the place, and then they converged into one and one larger and larger group. This one, I can't see Shane really leaving the show. I mean, he really is the big. He's number 2 on the show. He's got a lot of fans. I can't see him leaving. Then again, this is a show that would sucker punch you like that. Now, this particular episode starts off with them getting. It looks like they might get into this more, but they get stuck on the highway. They're starting to scavenge. All of a sudden, a herd, as they call them, instead of a horde, as they're normally called in zombie lore, they're calling these herds. Now, call it a horde. You're kind of the de facto zombie king right now. Fit with the law. Conform, damn you. But they have a horde go through the highway. They hide from it. It's actually one of the better tense scenes I've seen, with just all the shambling zombies walking through and them having to remain quiet. Hopefully they'll just pass by. Like I said, it's one of the most intense scenes I've seen for suspense and all that. But Sophia winds up getting chased into the woods by a couple of the remaining zombies that are there, and basically the rest of the episode is them trying to find her. And by the end, spoiler alert, everybody, they don't find her. No idea if they'll ever find her. Maybe they will, but this is probably one of the more graphic episodes. At one point, they cut open a fucking zombie's stomach to see if the insides are on. I always love this logic, like with zombie films, because these things are like, it's always viral. So you really have to be like thorough. If you get anything blood on you, you'd be almost like, oh my god, this is fatal. Look at Contagion for an example of that. Yeah, these guys are like with gardening gloves, like going into this zombie's stomach, which is just completely rotten. It's just this black rotten flesh inside there. I think that might cause you to get infected. I mean, it's one thing if it's like the Romero zombie. Now, even with the Romero zombies, I would still say this is one thing if they're magical zombies. Uh, but yeah, it's probably one up there on the graphic scenes. There's a lot of zombies, but then again, it's the premiere. You'd expect a lot of zombie killing in the premiere and in the season finale. Although last season's finale didn't have a whole lot. Not much more else to talk about. Oh, the deer at the end. Alright, major spoilers. If you have not seen the episode yet, go on to Hulu or AMC.com, watch the episode, and then come back for this part, because this is too big of a spoiler. Alright, have you gone? You've gone, watched it, you paused the video, you've come back now, right? Good. That fucking deer scene at the end. I love the fucking deer. First off, I know, as I've said before on this podcast, I'm in Jersey. However, Jersey is not exactly as a stereotype. I live right next to a nature preserve here. Therefore, whenever I go for a run or anything, I see a deer almost every day. No fucking way does this deer stand feet away from these people and not notice them in a clearing. I can't get that close to deer, and the deer around here are somewhat more comfortable with people because they're not allowed to hunt. You can't get hunting for the patches of land because they are nature preserves. So the deer around here have pretty much no fear of humans, but they still do not get that fucking close. And they still, as soon as you get close, I mean, I've gotten that close to a deer, but it's watching me the entire time, and I'm not walking towards it. It's coming out from behind a bush and seeing it, and it kind of looks shocked. And so for me, that was a bit of a suspension of disbelief. Like, I know that's BS how the deer is, but I was not expecting someone to shoot through the deer and hit the kid. That shocked the hell out of me. And I don't think anyone saw that coming. But again, maybe if you read the comics, maybe that was from the comics, and therefore you weren't too surprised. But hey, it was at the end. It needed to be done. It might have been something. I think thematically that might have been the sign that Rick was praying about right before he when they were in the church. Which, by the way, I love that church scene as they're in there just beating the hell out of the zombies with these machetes right there in front of the crucifix. Symbolism! But maybe that's another one. Maybe they're going to get more into the religious aspect this season. Could be an indicator, could not be. I find it interesting they're going with Andrea's near suicide and kind of going how that she wants to leave the group, but like, really, how are you going to start over? It's the post-apocalypse. I can get into a little bit of I guess my ideals of how a post-zombie world would appear. I would say that there should be larger pockets of survivors and stuff, but I think we're going to get into that this season, because there was, at the end, it showed like the clips from throughout this season. One, it looks like next episode they're going to stumble across another group of survivors, so maybe they'll pick up a few people, like I said before, about the refreshing of the group, because they need to bring in some new bodies just so they can kill people again. I have no idea if they'll find Sophia or not, but they also, if you paid attention real quick, there was a shot of 3 Apaches flying over, showing that there is, perhaps somewhere, there is an organized resistance or an organized zone. Funny how no one ever, when they do these, considers the fact that there's probably about 40,000 U.S. sailors at sea at any time. something along those numbers. Yeah, that's a lot of people that the zombies can't bite. They just got to stay on ships. That's enough people. If you go to like some of the Caribbean islands, you could just land them on shore. They can clear out the entire island, and all of a sudden you have a source of food. Then you can cultivate the land, go out and fish, keep the rest of the fleets offshore. If you need more islands, you just repeat the same thing at the other islands, which is something I wish they had done a little bit more in the last season's finale. Kind of diverting into that, but yeah, I kind of wish he said like, oh, like, isn't there anywhere to go? Well, we secured several of the islands in Hawaii. We're fully declared safe and quarantined, and there's a command structure there. Because that would have been good for him to say. I know they were going for the whole desperate, there's no hope, but really to tell them that the only safe haven he knows about is one or two of the Hawaiian islands, which were, or even the entire chain that were cleared, and they sent as many military troops as they could to the Hawaiians, wiped out every zombie they could find on there, and were able to secure them. Because to them it's pointless. They're stuck in the southeast. They'd have to travel all the way across the states, and then travel across right into literally the middle of the Pacific. Yeah, they could have even gone more. Say the only place they knew of that was still zombie free was like Guam. Even you could have done, which is even further out in the Pacific. Or give something obscure like, oh well, the Maldives declared themselves quarantined, so we know they never got infected. They would have been, where the hell is that? For those of you who don't know, it's a small island nation out in the middle of the Indian Ocean. But because I think in reality, if there was a zombie plague like that, there would have been like island countries like that would have seen what's going on and went, nope, we're quarantining ourselves. That's the thing. That's one of my personal things with the zombie apocalypse genre, though. I think I want to hear stuff like that. But at least they mentioned how the French were working on stuff. And now I am firmly talking about last season's season finale, so that's kind of a sign. I'm sorry there's not a whole lot to talk about right now, but this is a season premiere. I don't want to get too much into the repeating the boring details, because I have a feeling most people that listen to this podcast are people who have watched the show or have watched this particular episode, or watch the show regularly and are curious to see what other people think. And right now there's not a whole lot. It's a starter. It's to start stuff off. I think next episode is going to see more interesting elements, bringing new stuff into the show. I think this episode was just more about taking in the events of the previous season, bringing everyone back up to speed, getting everyone back used to the characters again, giving us a really good scene there with the zombie horde / herd. I wonder if they'll go into that, like why the zombies are doing it. Are they being drawn somewhere, or do they start heading off in a direction, all the other zombies start following? Literally just like a herd. It'd be nice to see that if they start really realizing how the zombies operate and start using tactics, to really how to lure and trick the zombies into huge hordes of zombies to walk in particular directions into traps and such. I think I want to see stuff like that in this series, how they kind of really learn about how the zombies operate, or the walkers operate, and how they can pull them into different, develop effective tactics, shall I say, to combat the zombies. You want to see the characters evolve in that way. They kind of already have, in that they are now very efficient at killing these things, where one or two zombies so that is not a big deal to kill. And that's good. That's character development. And really, once after you've really, when you look at a zombie, it's really less threatening than a normal human. So you should be able to handle one or two of them. It's just the shock of there being a zombie. Not much more else to talk about. Hopefully, I would stay tuned for the next episode. I think that's when we're really going to start seeing how season 2 will develop. We'll also start seeing, hopefully not, the whole drama behind the scenes. With we had one of the producers left. There was arguments they were going to cut the budget down, which is silly because hopefully The Walking Dead starts beating the hell out of Mad Men in in ratings, so this whole thing doesn't go on. Because really, this is a show that needs a budget in order to be good. Because you have the zombie element, you have a grand epic scale. Mad Men, it's all money going to the actors. That's the thing that pisses me off the most about that whole background thing is it's just going to pay the actors, which they're great actors, yes, but the socket to a show like The Walking Dead, which needs its bigger budget, or which needs a big budget, in order to show what type of show it is. It's not an office drama where after the first season you have the sets. Therefore, not only is Mad Men basically still set in the same areas. It's just that office, that building. The Walking Dead are constantly moving from different places. They need a budget. But I digress. That's it for now. Signing off. Perhaps I'll follow up next week. Depends if I am busy that Sunday night or not. Signing off.